There are times in which your best move is making no move. And I'm going to talk about that on this segment of the Gig Geezer. If this is your first time checking out the Gig Geezer, if you're a returning visitor of the Gig Geezer, hey, thanks for coming by. And if you would not mind, hit that subscribe button, give my content a thumbs up, share my content among others, and I definitely welcome your comments in the section below. Well, I have a few random geezer thoughts that I want to share in this particular segment. And I'm going to lead off with the teaser piece, in which sometimes your best move is making no moves. Now, this is not an original saying. I actually heard it the first time from a fast friend of mine, whom I've often described in several segments of the Gig Geezer. In fact, when there have been slow days here in the Columbia, South Carolina metropolitan area, and things really seem to be stagnant and rigor mortis. In some of our phone conversations, this driver who I'm talking about would say, "Hey, sometimes your best move is making no move." So what does that mean? Pretty much, when you sense that things aren't just happening based on your sources of revenue. So, for example, in my case, I've often described how my production, my gross revenue, the money that I've earned is derived by four facets of four different sources: gig food delivery apps, last mile gig delivery apps, brokered opportunities, and 1099 slash cash game opportunities. When you see or sense that none of those facets are really working for you, and usually something within you would tell you that it's just not happening today. And that's exactly what happened today for me. Sometimes the best thing you can do is not go out there or not do anything that would be related to you trying to earn money. And so my best move was staying at the Geezer compound. My best move for me today was going to Public and buying some chicken tenders. And that's exactly what I did today. Now, in concept, and I often talk in terms of concepts. In concept, what it means is that when you don't make a move on days like these, you're not spending any money. You're not spending anything that will go against your revenues. Basically, you're not putting any money in for gas. You're not putting any miles in your vehicle. And you're also not expending any physical energy that would be needed towards completing some of the things that you do. In my case, many of the things that I do are associated with last mile gig delivery work and brokered opportunities, specifically last mile gig delivery work, at least what has been the case for much of the last 2 years since December 2022. And so today was one of those days. Now, ironically, yesterday was one of those days as well where I just about had made yesterday be that day. And that was Wednesday, October 9th, 2024. And what happened was I did not leave the Geezer compound until somewhere as close to 10 o'clock. But when I left, I came back to the Geezer compound having earned $349. You can say $350. And I did not have to put in a lot of miles. I didn't have to expend a lot of energy. And I didn't have to put any money in the gas tank. So yesterday was a profitable day, even though I woke up not really feeling it. Today I woke up feeling it, but the realization was that nothing was happening. Nothing was happening on the gig food delivery apps. Nothing was happening on the last mile gig delivery apps. Um, Nothing was happening on the brokered opportunities. And I had definitely had nothing going on with the 1099 slash cash game. So I hope you see where I'm coming when I speak of sometimes the best move is not making any move. Now, what do you do with that time that you're not out there? That's on you. But I just want to at least discuss the concept in this segment, why some days not making a move is your best move. Now, the next geezer random thought is really about geezerdom. And I'm talking about geezerdom as it relates to the gig economy. Now, I'm really now I mentioned in a couple of segments ago about how I came up with the term gig geezer, myself chronologically being a geezer who is involved in the gig economy, hence the term gig geezer. A significant component of the workforce globally and for that matter in the United States are older people like myself. Now they describe folk who are older being 50 and older, but I'll even ramp up those numbers to when you get to Social Security age like myself. I'll be Social Security eligible next year. I realize as I talk to you, my audience here in the Gig Geezer channel, based on the metrics, my biggest my most of the people who comprise being my subscribers here on the Gig Geezer channel are between the ages of 35 and 54. So that means for some of you, y'all are like sons and daughters to me, at least chronologically. And then for some of you who are my younger subscribers, I'm like a father, but I could be as old as your grandfather. And so when you're out there doing your gig work, be it working a gig food delivery app or even a last mile gig delivery app, you may see someone like me, a true geezer, out there working these apps. And I've seen folk who I know are older than me out there. And while I've had no opinion of them when I've seen them, recently I began thinking about just what the gig economy means to someone who's my age. And so again, what I'm asking for many of you to do is think about your parent, your uncle, your aunt, or that older brother, or some other old person who's an older presence in your life. Think about them doing that. Now, some of you may think that, hey, I don't want you to be out there doing that stuff. I don't want you out there doing DoorDash or Grubhub or Uber Eats or doing Uber or Lyft. But you know, for many folk, um, doing gig work is necessary because, quite honestly, to go out there and try to apply for a W-2, I know, like for myself, if somebody look at my resume, they see what year I finished college, they may see some other references to my resume in terms of my W-2 work history. Well, that's going to be a very telling sign. And while supposedly age discrimination is not allowed, people do make decisions sometimes on what have you done lately. Okay. And also there's the fact that when you've got there's this thing called cheap labor. And so what places will do is hire younger folk who are not going to command as much money. So then when you get to my stage in life, how then do you make money that you may have been used to making, or how do you make money that will help supplement what you've got going on? Well, it's a good thing that you've got then the gig economy. You've got these gig apps because 25, 30, 40 years ago, it would mean working that part-time W-2 job. And sometimes working that part-time W-2 job could be a rather, let's just say, a very humbling and somewhat demeaning experience. So being able to do something in gig economy, doing gig work, gig app work, gig related work, it gives you a certain sense of autonomy, which I've mentioned here on the Gig Geezer channel, but it also allows you to retain a sense of dignity that you may lose working some W-2s. Um, and also, it's a sense of personal freedom in that you're making your money and you're not having, and in most cases, it's money that is actually much easily accessible, money that you can see come to you the same day that you perform the work, as opposed to a W-2. It's yes, there's a potential of being deactivated from an app, but there seems to be, at least from what at least from my experience and maybe what is actually the trend, there is more advantages for someone who's older to do gig work than working the W-2. And that is a trend. That is a trend that is continuing. That is a trend that continues to be evident. Now, the other thing is for some folk, as you get older, it's about interacting with other people. It's about, I mean, people need people. That's just a known fact. The interaction with other people sometimes keeps you sharp and somewhat up to date with what's going on out there. Um, Another thing is the fact that it allows you to remain active. If you're able to get out there, then it allows you to be mobile, to be engaging, to have that sense of functionability that you may not feel if you're just sitting around the house looking at your computer screen, your phone, or TV set. Another thing is that as you get older, you often say, so long as you have the ability to keep out going out there, you will go out there. Now, personally, I had an uncle who died this year. He died at the age of 82. But here's the thing, my uncle, he got around as best as I know. Now, I did not speak to him in the last month that he lived. He died January 24th. I last spoke to him on December 30th. So I don't know what transpired those last 3 weeks. But what I do know is that he would often call. He was the one who called me because he was always getting around. He may not got around as like he did 15, 20 years ago, but he still got around. And that's what I'm getting at. Gig work gives people, some folk, as you get farther along, something to look forward to. And for others, as what I am aware of now, and I'm going to preface it like this. I mentioned in a recent Gig Geezer segment when I spoke of my hip replacement surgery, gig work. I kind of use gig work as a part of my rehab in that being able to get out and about, getting out and about, walking and so forth was a part of my rehab from hip replacement surgery. And so what I'm getting at is, um, while that was used for me, gig work was used in that respect. For some folk, because of other physical limitations, the flexibility of gig work and the type of gig work is what's best conducive for their bodies in their respective situations. And while certain W-2s may be physically taxing for them and may put them in a very compromised situation. So if for nothing else, the next time you look at somebody who's farther along chronologically in your family or someone that's in your circle, um, think about those things. Um, gig work, gig work may be a positive for that person in their life. Now, admittedly for myself, and I've shared this too, gig work, I wish it was around 30, 35 years ago, at least this form of gig work. 30, 35 years ago, if you did what was perceived as gig work, it was going through a temporary agency where more than likely you're to find part-time work or work that was you were pretty much at the mercy of the people as they needed you. One of the advantages of gig work, as we know, is that so long as there is a demand, there's the potential of an opportunity for you to do something. And some of them have demand 24 hours a day, basically. And so that enables you to go out there and earn money. Now, for me, since 2018, I have earned the most money that I've ever earned in any year. Even this year, while the final number may not be as much as it was in 2023, I am still on track to top six figures. And that's pretty good. I don't know of any W-2 jobs that's going to pay me coming off the street six figures. I just don't know. Based on my skill set, I don't know of any. And so often when people ask me, well, what type of money you can make doing gig work, I often tell them it's what you make of it. And one of the things I often say, of course, is you got to treat it as a business to get business-like results. But again, when you look at someone who's farther along, like myself, who may remember Soul Train in its original run, or remember the Flip Wilson show. Those of you who aren't old enough who know about Flip Wilson, look him up on YouTube. Pull up, Google him. Let's see, what's another good example? For those of you who may be old enough to remember the rotary dial telephones, the ones that actually had a connection into the wall, when they used to say unplug the phone, that's what they meant. Or to dial the phone, that's what they meant, the rotary dial phone, or the push button phones. And then again, what's another good one? Those of you who may be old enough to remember having a black and white television. And when they used to say turn the TV, there was a dial that you turned. And then there was the antenna, the rabbit ear antennas. But when you look at that older person in your life, these are some of the reasons why they're probably out there doing gig work. And there may be some other more substantive reasons, like maybe out of actual financial necessity. But I'm trying to talk of some of the other reasons beyond financial necessity, in which you've gotten into a rut and you need to get yourself out, like last month. But hopefully you understand where I'm coming from with this. Hopefully you get something out of what I'm sharing in this particular segment of the Gig Geezer. And if you do, if you like the content that's been provided in this segment or in any other segment, hit that subscribe button, give my content a thumbs up, share my content among others, and I definitely welcome your comments in the section below. I'm Inwood Lane. As always, may your grind and may your hustle continue.